Okay, welcome to video 10.3 here. Today we're going to be talking about completing the square. So I'm going to pose a lot of questions in this video, and I'm actually going to leave the answers up to you. So this is going to be different than normal. So I'm asking you, do you remember using base 10 blocks in elementary school, and can you think of how we can use them to make a square? So these are examples of base 10 blocks right here. So they were those groups of 100, 10, and 1. They were usually colored and you were able to hold on to them. They were manipulative that you used in elementary school. So if I gave you one square, well, that's easy. To make a square, it already is a square. But let's say I give you a group of these 10s, and I want you to go ahead and make a square out of it. So let's say, just for this example, why don't I just say I gave you two groups of 10. How can you keep the square looking like a square? So in order to answer this, you have to think, well, what makes a square special? Why is a square different than, say, a rectangle? Because if I put them on one side right next to each other and I just slid them all against, it wouldn't be a square anymore, it'd be a rectangle. So how can you keep it looking like a square? If I add one against this side, where would the other one have to go? Okay, so you're going to answer that question. And we want to complete the square below. And notice that you will need to add something to the picture in order to complete the square. So in other words, I just talked about pushing this onto here, but it won't create a square unless I added something else to the picture. So go ahead and give that a thought. And again, we'll go over this more in class, but I just wanted to pose some questions to you to see what you would come up with on your own. And these examples that we talked about were groups of 110. This was a box with 100, and this was a group of 10. But sometimes we'll just know we have a square. We don't necessarily know that it's 100, but we know that it's a square shape. So, in other words, it's the same on both sides. And a group that covers the side of it, as we're going to show below in this picture here that I want you to add to your notes. So my question for you is, what can we use to represent a square with an unknown side length? So how could I write this? And then how could I write this group of whatever this is? Because it's the same length as the side of the square. Okay, so completing the square can be used to create a new square. And you can complete the square with the following quadratics by filling in the blank and then determine the new side length. So we're going to do these together and think about, if I have y squared, how can I add two y's to make it still look like a square? And what will I have to add to my picture? So we're going to do those some more in class. This video is purposely a little shorter because I want you to think about the questions that I asked you and come with answers to those questions for class tomorrow. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.